The Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. It's called Weather for Weather Geeks, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about this evening. A busy 24 to 30 hours or so ahead of us before things calm down towards the end of the week. First things first, let's tidy up today's numbers. It was a record breaker at the airport. The old record of 62, set in 1997 and in 1977, was broken this afternoon around mid-afternoon. It got to 64 at the Youngstown Warren Airport, and we were not alone in setting a record today. Check out Cleveland Hopkins Airport, 71 this afternoon. It was 70 in New Philly, 73 in Toledo. Out in Wisconsin, they had the warmest temperature on record for any location in that state in the month of February today. Pretty remarkable stuff. And of course, accompanying the warmth today, we had one round of showers and storms that rolled through this morning through the midday hours. It produced some lightning strikes and some small hailstones in a couple of spots. Thanks to Dan for submitting this picture. You can submit weather-related pictures anytime. The email address, weatherpics, P-I-C-S, at WFMJ.com. You can also submit them right on the Storm Tracker 21 app. Just go down to hit that little box that says submit photo, and don't forget to follow me on, well, all the social medias, but especially on Instagram. That's where I deposit a lot of the better weather-related pictures. All right, so thunder in February, it's not unheard of course, but it is unusual. It's the third least thundery month of the year locally. Of course, we see a big uptick in our thunderstorm activity as we go into the spring and into the early summer, but yeah, December through February is typically a time of the year that we hardly see any thunder around here, so it was kind of an unusual sight to have that lightning today. Look at this doozy of a cold front across the middle of the country this evening. You go from 78 in St. Louis to 20 in Omaha. In Omaha yesterday it was in the 80s. Now we have a 58-degree difference over a fairly short stretch there from Omaha to St. Louis, and of course all this is charging to the south and east, so they'll get in on a big change in Dallas here tonight, and in our area it'll be a big change starting around midday coming up on Wednesday. In the meantime, it's going to be an active night tonight for thunderstorm activity because, again, this is more like a spring night. A tornado watch, I should say, has been issued for the greater Chicago area. This includes a couple of counties in southern Wisconsin and a lot of the suburban areas to the west of Chicago and out into the more rural areas near the Iowa border. No watches and warnings in Ohio and Pennsylvania right now, but the severe weather outlook for tonight highlights two main areas of concern for severe weather. One from Cincinnati back towards Cape Girardeau, Missouri. The other is closer to Chicago. But outside of that level 3 area, you have a level 2 risk that includes places like Detroit and Toledo, and over towards Cleveland and Columbus as well. And in my television market, in the Youngstown area along the Ohio-Pennsylvania border, we're in the level 1 risk for severe weather on our 1 to 5 scale. It's not a 0 risk tonight, but certainly the risk of all severe weather hazards higher to the west in central and western Ohio. Now, as of this recording at 7:10 p.m., I don't have much going on other than a couple of showers scooting through. I'm not expecting the radar to really blossom until a couple of hours from now, mid to late evening. And in those same areas I highlighted for the general severe weather risk, there's a pretty high tornado risk for tonight and first thing tomorrow morning in the mid-Ohio River Valley and heading back towards Chicago as well. Where you see those dashed black lines embedded in the 10% area, that's what we call a hatched area. That means there is an increased risk of significant tornadoes, not just, EF zeros and EF ones, but there's an increased risk of significant tornadoes, the kind that can really cause a lot of problems. And overall, the general tornado risk within 25 miles of any location is about 10% from Cincinnati on south and west, and again, closer to Chicago for tonight. Back here in eastern Ohio and western PA, I'm expecting the most frequent activity to be closer to midnight tonight and heading into parts of the overnight. Showers, some thunder. A lot of this will be pretty garden variety. I'm not real big on the severe weather risks here locally tonight, but I can't rule it out either. That any thunderstorm that manages to tap into a lot of that wind shear that's above our heads and elevated instability as well is going to be able to produce a wind gust and some hailstones. And there's enough wind shear that I can't even 100% rule out an isolated tornado in our area, even though, again, that risk is quite a bit higher to our west. I do think there'll be a lull late tonight into the first couple of hours of daylight on our Wednesday before showers and storms return for midday. And what a doozy of a cold front coming our way for tomorrow. This is going to be a pretty big temperature drop, and it's going to happen right around lunchtime. You're going to wake up tomorrow morning with temperatures in the upper 50s to around 60. At lunchtime, the front's just entering our area, noon-ish, And so in places like Bloomfield, Mesopotamia, Newton Falls, Southington, it's going to start cooling off fast right around noon. But it's going to take another hour or two for that front to reach East Liverpool, Elwood City, Slippery Rock, Grove City, places like that. But it's going to reach everywhere, and what a change it's going to be. You're going to go from about 60 in the morning to about 30 by the time the sun sets, and this is also about the time that I'm expecting some snowflakes to be in the mix. And the other thing we have to talk about on Wednesday is the wind. Outside of thunderstorm winds, just general wind gusts here, what we call synoptic winds, are going to be pretty frisky as we get into the afternoon. This isn't high wind warning stuff, but this can be enough to, be noticeable and problematic for the second half of the day, especially afternoon gusts of 40 miles per hour or so, I think will be pretty common. If you have an empty trash can, that's enough to blow it down the street a little bit, and in general, just very, very unpleasant towards the end of the day on Wednesday compared to early in the day when it's going to feel like a May morning. So again, our cold front rolls through midday. Now let's talk about the snow aspect of this. Now, in a lot of our TV viewing area, this isn't going to be a big deal. Maybe a couple of flurries tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. But around and north of Interstate 80, I can see where there's a big enough temperature difference between the air and the water on Lake Erie that we're going to have some instability to contend with. And I do think that snow showers can be problematic for some late tomorrow into tomorrow night before fading away overnight and first thing Thursday morning. And then we're left with plenty of sunshine Thursday afternoon, and high pressure will give us a nice day Friday with a warmer afternoon. Best chance of seeing an inch or so and some slick surfaces. The usual suspects. From the primary snow belts south and east of Cleveland on over into the I-80 corridor and points north. So Cortland, Kinsman, Greenville, Mercer, New Lebanon, places like that, you have the best chance of maybe seeing an inch or even maybe an inch and a half or 2 inches worth of snow. Enough to cover things up and make things slick tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. For the rest of us, it's a couple of flurries. I'm not real concerned about a rapid freeze-up because I don't think the rainfall will be all that heavy, close enough to the temperature dropping below freezing. We're going to have most of our showers around noon. It's not going to drop below freezing until 6 or 7 p.m. on average, and a gusty wind will help to dry out the pavement as well. So I'm not real concerned about a rapid freeze-up and black ice across most of our area, but it's something we're going to monitor, certainly, as we go into late in the day tomorrow. Then we can breathe. Things calm down, and things really warm up. No records early next week, but we've got 70 in our forecast for next Monday now. I think we're right back into this spring-like pattern as early as Friday afternoon and taking us into early next week. And although there will be another front, look at what happens behind the front. It's not as cold as with the front that's coming up tomorrow. So it's cooler, but still above the average, and I don't see a large-scale pattern change through about the first half of March. Second half of March, I do think the pattern can change. Not 100% certain on that just yet. We've seen cold in the longer range vanish as you get a little bit closer. But right now, and for some time now, the modeling has indicated that there will be a cooler pattern. Now, in the second half of March, it's not like the second half of January. A cooler pattern doesn't mean highs below freezing, usually in the second half of March. You can have a 40-degree day in the second half of March, and it's a fair amount cooler than the average. So a different pattern possible second half of March, but until then, we're only going to have a day or two at a time, kind of like we're going to have tomorrow into tomorrow night and Friday morning. In the meantime, I'll have a busy evening keeping an eye on the radar. Make sure you're following me on all the social media outlets, including on Threads. That's, that's Instagram/Facebook's version of Twitter, if you will. I'm on Threads. You can find me there, Eric WFMJ. Instagram and Facebook. Also, make sure you're following me there for the latest updates in real time this evening, and of course on 21 News tonight at 11 o'clock. Don't forget, you can also track any of the storms on the Storm Tracker 21 app. It's got a good name. So that's it for me tonight on this Tuesday night. We'll recap everything that happened tonight, coming up on Wednesday's edition of Weather for Weather Geeks.